There is one thing that people who used to overthink constantly have in common, and it's not that they found a way to stop their thoughts. It's not that they meditated every morning or rewired their brain overnight. The one thing they have in common is that they stopped doing something specific, something you're probably doing right now without even realizing it. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what that is, and more importantly, why stopping it is the thing that actually changes everything. But before we get there, I need you to understand something first. Because if you skip straight to the solution without understanding what's really happening inside your mind, it won't stick. It'll feel good for a day, maybe two, and then the noise comes back louder than before. So, stay with me. Everything I'm about to say is connected. You woke up this morning and your mind was already running. Before your eyes opened, before your feet touched the floor, before you even remembered what day it was. Your brain was already working, already replaying, already worrying, already building a version of today that hasn't happened yet, and probably won't happen the way your mind is imagining it. And here's what's truly heavy about that. You didn't notice. You didn't stop and think, wait, why is my mind already doing this? You just picked up the thread and kept going. Because that's what you do. Because that's what you've always done. Because somewhere along the way, the noise stopped feeling like noise and started feeling like you. And that right there is the real problem, not the thoughts themselves. The fact that the thoughts became your identity. Think about that for a second. When was the last time you described yourself, even just in your own head, as someone who thinks too much? Someone who worries? Someone who can't let things go? Someone who just has a busy mind? How long have you been carrying that story about yourself? Because the moment you accepted that label, the moment you turned a habit into a personality, you stopped looking for a way out. You stopped questioning the noise because the noise became who you are. But it isn't. And I need you to really hear that. The overthinking is not you. It is something that happened to you and then kept happening until it became so automatic that you forgot it wasn't always there. So when did it start? Not the exact date. Nobody remembers that. But at some point early, your mind learned something that felt true and felt safe. It learned that thinking ahead kept you protected. That if you imagined the worst before it arrived, you wouldn't be blindsided by it. That if you replayed your mistakes enough times, you could figure out how not to repeat them. That if you kept scanning the horizon for problems, nothing would catch you off guard. Your brain made a deal with you. A quiet deal, the kind you never formally agreed to, but somehow ended up living by. The deal was, I will stay alert, I will keep thinking, I will never fully relax, and in return, you will be safe, you will be prepared, you will not be caught off guard. And for a while, it probably worked. You thought through situations, you prepared for hard conversations, you anticipated problems before they happened. And when things went okay, your brain reinforced the deal. It said, see, the thinking protected us. The worrying worked. Keep going. But here's what the deal left out. The deal never included an off switch. There was no clause that said, and when things are actually fine, the system will stand down. Because the system doesn't know how to stand down anymore. It learned to run, and now running is all it knows. So even on the good days, even when nothing is wrong, even when you're sitting somewhere quiet with no real crisis in front of you, the mind keeps going. It finds something, a conversation from last week, a decision you haven't made yet, a fear that doesn't have a name, a feeling that something, somewhere, is slightly off. And you follow it, because that's what you've always done. Because following feels like doing something, and doing something feels better than sitting still with the uncertainty. Here's the thing nobody tells you about that. And this is where it starts to click. The exhaustion you feel isn't from your life. It isn't from the actual things you're doing or the actual challenges in front of you. The exhaustion is from thinking about your life, from carrying every version of your future in your head at the same time, from managing all the imaginary problems alongside the real ones, from processing conversations that haven't happened yet and outcomes that may never come. That kind of tired is different. Sleep doesn't fix it. A vacation doesn't fix it. A quiet Sunday doesn't fix it, because the moment things slow down, the mind speeds up to fill the space. And you've felt that. You've had moments of rest that didn't feel restful at all. Moments where everything was technically fine and your body was still tight, still braced, still waiting for something bad to arrive. That's your nervous system. That's what years of low-level alertness does to a body. It keeps everything slightly contracted, slightly ready, slightly on, and the cost of that, the physical emotional cost, accumulates slowly and then all at once. And suddenly you're tired in a way you can't explain, drained in a way that doesn't make sense on paper, heavy in a way that has nothing to do with what's actually in front of you today. Your body is exhausted from a war that's only been happening in your mind. Now, here's where I'm going to give you the first piece of what actually helps. Not the whole thing yet, because context matters, and I'm going to build toward it. But the first piece right now is this. You have to stop trying to solve your thoughts. That sounds simple. It isn't. Because solving feels productive. When a worried thought arrives, everything in you wants to engage with it, wants to think it through, turn it over, find the angle that makes it safe, find the answer that makes the worry go away. And sometimes you find something that feels like an answer, and for about 4 minutes you feel better, and then a new version of the same worry comes back, slightly different, needing to be solved again. And you do it again, and again, and again. This is called a thought loop, and you already know exactly what it feels like. You've been in hundreds of them, maybe thousands. And what they all have in common is this. The thinking never actually resolves anything. It just burns energy. It just keeps the system running. It just reinforces the belief that if you think hard enough and long enough, you'll eventually reach the thought that makes everything okay. That thought doesn't exist. Certainty isn't something you can think your way into. The future is not something you can control by imagining it enough times, and the past is not something you can change by replaying it. But your mind doesn't stop trying, because stopping feels dangerous, because stopping feels like giving up, because stopping feels like the moment you take your eyes off the danger is the moment the danger arrives. So the first shift, the beginning of the real shift, is learning to notice the loop without entering it, to feel the pull of a worried thought, and instead of immediately following it, pausing, just for a second, just long enough to ask, is this a real problem in front of me right now, or is this my mind trying to generate safety by generating more thinking? Most of the time, if you're honest, it's the second one. Most of the time, there is no actual emergency. There is only the habit of treating uncertainty as emergency, and you can interrupt that habit. Not perfectly, not immediately, but you can start to interrupt it. And every time you do, even for a moment, you are teaching your mind something new. You are beginning to rewrite the deal. But there's a layer underneath this that goes even deeper. And this is the part most people skip, which is why they keep coming back to the same place over and over. A lot of overthinkers, maybe most of them, are not just afraid of what might go wrong. They're afraid of what it would mean about them if things went wrong. There's a difference, and it's huge. It's not just, what if I fail this? It's, what if failing this proves I was never good enough to begin with? It's not just, what if this relationship doesn't work out? It's, what if that means I'm unlovable? It's not just, what if I make the wrong choice? It's, what if making the wrong choice means I'm the kind of person who can't be trusted to make decisions? Mukio, the overthinking isn't random. It has a target, and the target, most of the time, is your worth, your value, the question of whether you are fundamentally okay as a person. And when that's what's underneath the thoughts, no amount of thinking solves it. Because that's not a logical problem. It's not a planning problem. It's not something that gets better with more preparation or more rehearsal. It's a wound that thinking keeps poking at without ever actually healing. This is why the people who seem the most successful from the outside are sometimes the most anxious on the inside. Because the success never actually answers the question. The achievement never fully quiets the voice that says, "But is it enough? Are you enough?" The bar keeps moving, the thinking keeps running, and no external result ever reaches the place inside where the real question lives. So if you've ever wondered why, even when things are going well, the anxiety doesn't go away, that's why. Because the anxiety was never really about the things. It was about the story you carry about yourself. And the story doesn't change just because the circumstances do. Now here's what starts to change the story. Not more thinking, not more achieving, not more proving. What starts to change the story is noticing, really noticing. When the thought that's running through your head is about the future or the past, and gently, without drama, bringing yourself back to right now. Not because the present is always comfortable, not because being here fixes anything, but because the present moment is the only place where your life is actually happening. Everything else, every version of tomorrow you're imagining, every version of yesterday you're replaying, is a construction. Your mind's version of reality, not reality itself. And your mind's version, especially when it's been running in anxious mode for a long time, is not accurate. It's biased, it catastrophizes, it selects for danger, it remembers the times things went wrong more vividly than the times things went right. It takes a small uncertainty and builds a whole architecture of dread around it. You have, at some point in your life, been absolutely certain that something terrible was about to happen, felt it in your body, lost sleep over it, spent days heavy with it, and then the thing either didn't happen or happened in a way that was nothing like what you imagined, or happened and you survived it in ways you didn't think you could. Think about how many times that has happened. Think about the ratio of things you dreaded to things that actually destroyed you. Your mind is not a reliable prophet, it is a scared one. And scared prophets see danger everywhere, not because danger is everywhere, but because fear has a very wide lens. So what do you actually do with that? How do you start living differently inside a mind that has been running like this for years? The answer is not one big change. And this is important because most people wait for one big change. They wait for a moment of total clarity, a breakthrough, a day when they wake up and the noise is just gone. That day doesn't come that way. What comes instead is small moments, repeated over time, that gradually shift the whole pattern. The first small moment is learning to catch yourself mid-spiral, not to stop the spiral with force. You can't do that, and trying just creates more tension, but to notice it, to say, even just inside your own mind, I'm in the loop right now. I'm doing the thing. That noticing, that tiny bit of distance between you and the thought, is not nothing. It is the beginning of everything. The second is learning to ask a different question. When the worry arrives and your instinct is to solve it, instead of asking, how do I fix this? Try asking, is this mine to carry right now? Some things genuinely need your attention today. Many things don't. Many things are borrowed worries, things that belong to tomorrow or to other people or to versions of your life that don't exist yet. And you can put borrowed worries down, not forever, not carelessly, but for now, just for this moment. You can set them down and come back to them if and when they actually require you. The third, and this is the one that tends to feel the strangest, is learning to tolerate not knowing. Overthinking is largely a response to uncertainty. If you knew exactly how things were going to turn out, your mind wouldn't need to generate so many possibilities. But life is uncertain, permanently, irreversibly uncertain, and no amount of thinking changes that. So the work, Slowly is building a different relationship with uncertainty, not pretending it doesn't exist, not forcing yourself to be okay with it, but gradually, through experience, building the evidence that you can handle what comes, that you have handled what came before. That uncertainty is not the same as danger, and not knowing is not the same as things going wrong. There's something else underneath the overthinking that almost nobody talks about, and I don't want to skip it, because I think it's the thing that either makes all of this click or makes it feel hollow. Most people who live with chronic overthinking are also carrying a very specific kind of loneliness. It's not the loneliness of having nobody around. It's the loneliness of feeling like nobody really sees how hard it is to be inside your own head. Like everyone else is moving through life with a kind of ease that you can't quite access. Like the effort it takes you to do ordinary things, to show up, to function, to be present, to seem okay, is invisible to everyone around you. Like you're working twice as hard just to feel half as steady, and that loneliness is exhausting in its own way, because it means you carry it alone. You've probably gotten good at not showing it, good at seeming fine, seeming functional, seeming like someone who has it together, while inside, the noise is constant and the weight is real. And there's a part of you that wonders if you showed people what it's actually like in there, if they would understand, if they would stay. That fear of being truly seen and found to be too much keeps a lot of people stuck in the overthinking, because the overthinking becomes armor. It becomes a way of managing every possible angle before anyone else sees the uncertainty underneath. If you've already thought of every way this could go wrong, then you can't be surprised by it. If you've already prepared for rejection, the rejection won't break you quite as much. If you're always one step ahead of the pain, maybe the pain won't be able to catch you. But the armor is heavy, and you've been wearing it for a long time. So let me ask you something directly. Not as a challenge, just as an honest question you can sit with. What would your life look like if your mind was a little quieter? Not silent, not empty, not switched off, just quieter. What would you do differently? Where would you go that you've been holding back from? What would you try that you've been talking yourself out of? Who would you let yourself be if you weren't spending so much energy managing the noise? Because I think you know. I think somewhere in you, behind the loops and the what-ifs and the preparation for everything that might go wrong, there is a version of you that wants things, that has ideas, that feels drawn to people and places and possibilities that the overthinking keeps out of reach. That version of you didn't disappear. They're just quieter than the noise right now. But quieter doesn't mean gone. And this is the thing I want to leave you with, because I think it matters more than any technique or strategy or mental tool I could give you. The goal is not to have a perfect mind. The goal is not to eliminate every anxious thought or become someone who never worries. The goal is not to be fearless or certain or always at peace. The goal is to stop letting the noise make all your decisions, to stop letting the fear of what might happen keep you from actually being in what is happening, to stop handing the controls of your life to the loudest, most anxious voice in your head, which is also, not coincidentally, the least accurate one. You didn't choose to become someone who thinks too much. That happened gradually, through experiences and environments and a mind that was trying to do its best with what it had. But you are here now, and you are aware of it. And awareness is not nothing. Awareness is actually the first real movement. Because you cannot change what you cannot see. And if you can see the pattern, if you can recognize the loop, the armor, the borrowed worry, the ancient deal your mind made in the name of safety, then you can start, slowly, to live outside of it. Not in one day, not because you watched one video or read one book or had one breakthrough conversation, but in small moments, added up over time. In the choice, made again and again to notice the spiral before it swallows you. To ask whether what you're carrying right now is actually yours to carry today. To practice gently and without self-punishment. The act of coming back to right now instead of living 5 versions of tomorrow. The noise became your normal because it was repeated enough times that your mind stopped questioning it. And quiet can become your normal for exactly the same reason. Because it is practiced, because it is chosen, because you decide that you are worth more than the endless loop, and you begin to live like you believe that. You have been carrying a mind that never rests for a long time. That's real, and it's hard, and you don't need to pretend otherwise. But it is not the end of the story. And the fact that you're here, the fact that you're asking these questions, the fact that something in you is still looking for a way through, that says something about you that the anxious voice in your head will never give you credit for. It says you're still in it, still reaching, still trying to come home to yourself, and that is exactly where change begins.